Good morning. First Tuesday check-in for what seems like ages. So I don't know, I haven't reminded anyone, Jason, that we're back on, so we'll have to see if anyone joins us or not. We are going to be inside for this Tuesday check-in because I don't know if you can see, Jason is absolutely soaking.
I can't feel my fingers, so I don't know how this little Tuesday check-in's going to go. We're going to be looking at just bridling. Got a couple of young horses here. They were pretty muddy when they came in, and we've steadily been grooming them off over the last couple of days. It's an interesting thing with young horses. These guys are not too sensitive. They're fairly well handled. But if you when you get that mud caked on them and you think, right, I've got to clean this horse right up, well, you know what it's like when you get stuff, well, maybe you do, maybe you don't, get stuck on your hair and you try and get off and it pulls. So it can be quite an uncomfortable thing. So we do little bits over a couple of days, just get the key areas clean, and then, within a week or so, we've got them looking spotless. But yeah. So
for those of you that have just jumped on, I hope you had a nice Christmas and Happy New Year.
Oh yeah.
We've been away for what seems like ages. And this is what Jason was just talking about, the mud. With a baby horse, he's very interested. If you start trying to scrape that mud off behind his ears, he's not going to like it very much. So we're just doing a little often.
Yeah. So you could imagine if I started cleaning him up too much and he started to show, that hurts and that sort of thing, and then I go and put a bridle on, I'm making hard work for myself. So, if you can find a way to soften it, or, just take little bits off at a time before they get too irritated, then that's the way. Right.
So this morning you were just going to, because honestly, if I just pan out outside, it is so disgusting. Got a couple of Hamish's horses here just waiting to be ridden. But we thought we'd stay inside for this Tuesday check-in. So Jason's going to show sort of how to bridle for the first time.
It's a bit of a cheek, isn't it? Yeah. No, but it is an important part of the process. And actually, yesterday when I did this grey mare, she was a little bit tricky. She's actually quite good to handle and everything, but I brought the bit up to her mouth and she sort of carted me around the stable a little bit, which surprised me. But you don't know what's going on. She's obviously been wormed, and she might not be a big fan of worming. I don't know. So she's got that sort of association. So we've got to just try and sweeten her with that.
All right. So we'll.
So just before we start, this is the bridle I'm going to use. So you can see it's totally stripped down. The only thing it has got on it, which I am going to change, I've got a lip strap on here, and that's good for riding. It stops the bit sliding through a horse's mouth. But just for this exercise, and there's no noseband, because it's all a fiddle when you're trying to get on a young horse and get the bit in a horse's mouth. A lot of the time it doesn't look pretty to start with. I just tend to just get them on, but we'll go through a few processes first. But just clean the bridle up so nothing's going to get hooked or snagged, and make it a bit bigger than it would sort of be when it's actually on them and fitted to them, just so you can get it up over their ears a bit easier, and there's less snagging involved.
So Jace, how do you decide what bit to use on what horse? Or at the beginning, you just don't really mind?
You just don't know at the beginning. So, I'm not, I'm just putting a bit in their mouths for the first 3 days. I don't actually action the bit very much. And then I might put some loose side reins on, just get them a feel of some pressure. But, the bit doesn't really do much. So it's just something to sit in their mouth and just play with and get used to, is all this part of the process is about. So there we are, completely clean. Should be fairly easy to put on. I've made it a couple of holes bigger, I think. We'll have a little measure up. I tend to put it over the head collar to start with as well. So I've got rope head collars, so they're a bit thinner. It's nice and easy to do that. Just so I've got some control if they start to move away from me when I'm putting it on. The other thing you can do, doing these sort of things, these simple things that just require a little bit of sort of curiosity, and it's not physically demanding or anything. So positive reinforcement is a really good thing for these sort of exercises. So I've just had a bit of a snack. There was an apple here. So, I'll give him the apple. I'm teaching him to take something out of my hand. So that's something we can do. I've got a bit of the feed here. So it's on my hand now. And I'll just put a little bit of flavour on the bit.
Oh, look, she's loving that apple.
So, don't be frightened to, and you can see my hand now has got something that gets a bit of curiosity and gets us sort of wanting to mouth a little bit and that sort of thing. You always got to be a little bit careful with using feed to get these things, because they can get a bit cheeky with it. But for an exercise like this, it's definitely not a bad thing to sort of do.
Oh, look, she wants more. There you go.
Especially if they're, a little bit worried about you putting stuff in their mouth.
Okay,
right.
So we'll just watch Jason from here. So she's a very well-bred, dressage-bred mare. She's bred by a very well-known rider. So hopefully she'll have a great future ahead of her. Now we're actually in Hamish's block of stables here, because, very exciting, we are getting new rubber mats put in our stables this week, which are all sealed and beautiful. So we're around in a different bit of the yard today.
So just while we're on this, a couple of things that I like to do before I do the bitting. She's thinking, where is that tasty apple or whatever? First thing is, I'm going to give them a little bit of a rub. I want to make sure that I can do this over their ears. So I start...
Yeah, so just rubbing over the eye.
Yeah. So rubbing over the eye, and then once they're good at that, you rub over the ear. Okay, and it's also good to do it in a place where they're a little bit settled. If they're worried about their mates and all that sort of thing, which these guys have been, because this is a new environment, first time off the place. They're starting to settle now. These things are really important to make this part of the process easy. The next thing I'll do is I get my forefingers and I put on the bridge of the nose, make sure they're okay with that. And then I might just put my thumb in the corner of their mouth. Now, if they happen to put their head up or do something silly like that, which they can do, they might put their head up here. If you hold their head up for a while, I bet you can't hold it up for long, because horses' heads are very heavy. Eventually they want to put it down. And when they put the head down, you just take your hand away and they realise, aha, if I put my head down, then that pressure goes away. So if you're midway through, just sort of try to stick with it. And fingers crossed, at some point they'll look for that. I'll come down as an answer, and just release there, and they'll start to bring their head down when you start to bit them. Cool. Okay, so she seems pretty good with that. The other thing that I do like to be able to do with these youngsters, so I always want a bit of ground handling on them, is to bend them. So I want to see that they...
So it's a nice flexion to the left there.
Yeah.
It's always difficult when we're live streaming because it doesn't capture the audio very well at all. So that's why I have to go really close to Jason while he's speaking, because we don't have a posh microphone system set up for these live at 11s.
So she's going to take the bit.
She actually actively wants to get the bit in her mouth now because she can smell that lovely feed. Let's just she can get.
Okay. So that.
Lovely.
That went very well. Yesterday it was a little bit more of a trial, so she's obviously learned pretty well. But I'll do that again, and I don't like to fiddle with horses' heads. That's something else to say. When I'm doing something with a horse's head, I just get what I need done, and then I move on. And then I just little and often, so over the course of the next few days or weeks, they will start to settle. But if you make a big deal of the head, then it's a very difficult thing to sort of really get control of if they're worried about you touching it. So that was good.
Also, when you do you want to open that?
I'll just get a little bit more of that. Stop my hand there. Just give it a little bit there.
And it's also important when you're taking the bridle off, isn't it?
Yeah, I will talk about that in a second.
Okay.
Okay, good girl. So when I put the bridle on, I do it differently to the traditional way that the English do it. So I tend to do this. I'll put the bridle up here, and I'll put the bit under their chin. And this means...
Hang on. Look, can I open the stable door? Because we can't see properly. Unless you want to go out now.
So if I need to control her, I can bend...
Oh no, I've caused chaos by opening the stable door.
I can sort of bring her nose around with this part of the bridle. Okay, so that's why I do it that way. And then when you're holding the bit, I don't know, there's probably not many smokers out there anymore, but old-fashioned hold like that between your fingers, and I rest it on my thumb like that. So when it goes in the horse's mouth, my fingers place it and my thumb balances there, and then I can just slide it in. And I use my top hand.
I'm going to shut the door again. We don't want an escapee during this.
I use my top hand to bring the bit into the mouth. I don't push with the bottom. I just put a little bit of pressure with the top until the horse opens. So she actually came looking for that. And one ear, and then the other ear. Okay. So there we are. There's a few good little tips there for bridling, and give it a go if you're at that stage of the process. And I do, when I'm at this stage as well, like to just leave them with the bit on and do nothing else for a few days. I start to do my lunge work and my basic groundwork with a bridle on, but I wait till they're properly sort of comfortable and not worried about it, because you can imagine putting a bit of steel in the horse's mouth is a bit sort of strange for the first time.
And do some owners actually want their horses started bitless as well, don't they? So you've started to do a few more bitless these days, haven't you?
Yeah.
A bit more popular these days.
Yeah, it's just a new thing that's going on. People are wanting to sort of get away from the traditional bitting and that sort of thing. It's great, and you can go up to a good level without bitting. But I do tend to find it's the combination I think works best. A little bit of bitting, and then you can take the bridle off, and vice versa. So I find the combination a good thing. Right, so taking the bridle off, I go over an ear there, and I let it come out. I let it fall out of the horse's mouth. I don't want to sort of pull it out, because if you bump them on the teeth on the way out, then obviously the next time you come to bridle them, they're going to be a little bit worried. So just careful taking the bridle off as well.
Yeah, right. So she's a real beauty, this horse. She's called Vivian. Well, I think that's her stable name, Vivian. And so hopefully on another Tuesday, we will see her sort of progressing through her ridden work, which is quite exciting. She's hopefully destined for great things. All right, Jason's just practicing one more time.
Well,
so
no, I'm going to put it on and leave it.
Oh, he's going to put it on now and leave her with it on. Perfect. All right, guys. Well, I really hope wherever you are, I know you probably, if you're in England, you're going to be in rain. But wherever you are, hopefully you're having a good day and you don't get too wet. And yeah, hopefully next Tuesday we'll be out and about, and Jason will be riding one of these babies and we'll show you how they're going.